sorry. We was
becoming who I always was.
Becoming who I always was. And it's funny because in my book,
I'm
writing a book right now. I really was struggling with writing the last chapter of the book. The last chapter is Who Am I Now? And I started this book 3 years ago. Met this guy randomly. He gave me a formula. And it's funny because I just ran into him a couple days ago at a coffee shop randomly. I was like, I know you. I don't know where I know you from. And then we started talking. And then it came full circle for the both of us. And he was like, I'm going to help you write this last chapter. And you're going to have a finished book at the end of February. And so like getting into this place of figuring out like who I am now, like what has kind of been your journey in doing it? 'Cause, like,
spirituality is simply your own personal connection to the creator, your own personal connection to the source of all creation. It is a personal journey. That's what African spirituality about. It is about you developing your own level of knowledge of self.
If you're a spiritual person and you just keep leveling up and just becoming a better person every single day, you just stay productive all the time, you surpassing people.
I don't give a damn about them. I'ma do me. And if I had to choose me, you, I choose me. When the money ain't around and the bitches ain't around, who the fuck gon' be around? Me. When the money ain't around and the bitches ain't around, who the fuck gon' be around? Me.
Escape the Matrix.
what's up?
I escaped the Matrix.
What does that mean?
I don't have any fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
I've been through it all, and I'm not worried about tomorrow. You know, I'm just living in the present moment.
Yeah.
And the Matrix, and how you thinking that you have to worry, you have to fear. You know, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? That type of thing.
Right.
That's the Matrix. So stepping outside of the Matrix is, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or what you gonna do? That's the type of feeling I got. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I've been through it all. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. Everything. But the best feeling is just that breath that I took, that inhale and exhale.
And, you know, being an empath, it's like we want to solve the world's problems. Like a lot of us empaths are introverts. Like most of us are introverted because we're feeling this energy on an inner level. We are within ourselves perceiving the energy that cannot be seen. And I myself is an INFJ. And when I found out that I'm an INFJ, like it just made so much things make sense, just like astrology and numerology. It just made life make sense and give me so much peace. So anyways, with all that being said, the reason why a person is an energetic vampire is because of our need to solve the world's problems and fix people.
I just remember constantly trying to pour things into him, like, you should do this, and you should do that, and you should do that. She's telling me, like, that's not something that we should be doing for men because they need to be able to figure it out on their own. And no man wants to feel like, you know, a woman has done everything for them, figured everything out for them. Like, it has to be his own personal journey. And you always interjecting, saying, like, you should do this, you should do that, he might feel like less than. And so it got to a point to where he basically told me he felt small beside me. I just graduated with my doctoral degree from Clark Atlanta.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you. very excited. And it just got to a point to where he said he feels small, you know, around me, you know, financially he feels insecure about where I'm headed and then where he is. And then what he had going on, really, it's been a lot of like roadblocks with that and ain't been happening. So he's seeing me get all these accolades and awards and promotions and stuff. And his life isn't really like following the way that he thought it was gonna go. And so it put us in a very weird place because I was just like, you know, do I continue to pour into him and like, I ain't gonna say force him to figure it out or force him, or do I just let him go, give him some space, let him do his thing, because he gotta figure that out on his own. And so that's like something that I've been really struggling with, like, you know, because I put that behind me. Like, I realized like he gotta figure it out. It's nothing I can do for him because he can't pour into my cup right now. It's just nothing he can do for me. I love him to death, want nothing but the best for him. But as I'm getting older and like from my previous relationship, which was like almost 4 years before that one, it was the same thing. I was like, same patterns, you know, a man he's feeling less than beside me. He's feeling this and the third. Like, I've just struggled. Like, how do we get past that? And I think I'm just a big helper. I'm a solution person, okay? We can talk about the problem for a little bit, but then what's the solution? And I feel like men take that as me sometimes like talking at them instead of talking to them. So I've really been working on like, I've never felt like it was my tone, or maybe it was, I don't know, but I'm just trying to figure out like I'm trying to tap more into, I guess, my feminine energy, because I've been told I have very strong masculine energy. And I'm like, I don't know if that was being raised by, you know, a whole bunch of men. Most of my male cousins, I didn't have a lot of like female cousins that I grew up with. I have them now, we're getting closer now. I have more female friends now, but growing up, most of my friends were guys. I was like the ultimate tomboy. I played basketball, I played all the sports. I liked being outside barefoot, you know, I wanted to be in the woods. And I don't regret any of that. I'm very thankful for those experiences, but now that I'm older and I'm dealing with, you know, men, and it's like, I ain't gonna say they can't handle it, but I don't know, they don't like it. So let me hear from you.
Are you an Aries?
It's funny that you say that. So I am a fire, so I'm not an Aries. I do get that one a lot. I'm a Leo.
So the original esoteric meaning of the Adam and Eve story, Eve gave Adam the fruit. And this is just one simplified meaning, okay? Is that Adam and Eve were representative of human consciousness. Human consciousness has a masculine and feminine. The masculine is the active part, our active part that we interact with on earth, our reality. But we also have an inner feminine that is our intuition, that will bring us the fruit of wisdom if we're open to it. That's what the fruit was symbolic of. The feminine, inner feminine, brought the masculine mind the fruit of wisdom.
You can feel that through your aura. You know what I'm saying? You don't even have to say nothing. He's gonna get himself together. You know what I'm saying? Because he's gonna be in your presence. So you just gotta work on getting yourself together. You know what I'm saying? And everything else is falling in line.
So again, all because of the relationship that you had, not denoting it, but any relationship that you had at that moment in time, if you have or haven't grown, you will never know until you get into another relations with someone, regardless of friendship, romantic, whatever, to know if you actually have changed in this environment, that it's your everyday move versus your consistent move of convenience. It's convenient that I move this way right now because I'm not getting rubbed this way. But when it's inconvenient, do you still stand in that integrity and run that way?
I want to hear from you too about the whole like, so what do we do? I know she said we just be, we need to be, but I want to hear from you.
There's no just be yourself. I saw all my flaws in the other person and I corrected. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, because I wasn't nitpicking or calling it out on them. I was just, oh man, I knew that about myself. Like, oh man, let me fix that. You know what I'm saying? Instead of playing the victim, like, oh, you doing this, you doing that. I got to work on myself more because I'm steady attracting the same energy to myself. It's all about self-reflection, self-love,
and self-growth. And
self-growth. You
can't do that. It's like that they're saying, if you point one finger at somebody, how many fingers will point back at you? That's really what it is.
Yeah, no, and I'm like I said, I'm not trying to point any fingers at him. I want nothing but the best for him. I was just trying to figure out what I did.
I'm going to present something that might seem a little brash, but even mentioning him is pointing a finger.
Okay.
because it's not about him, it's about you.
Well, no, we was talking about relationships. That's the only reason that I
Even if you're not hearing it, but your constant focus of conversation is what he's done, what he did, what he said, how I felt from his action in the reaction of the relationship. But aside from him, what did you do?
I'm gonna disagree because I feel like the whole conversation started with me explaining how I feel and how I'm trying to figure out what like I told you what he said about me. I was talking at him, so I'm trying to figure out what that means and what that looks like and how to break that down. But not necessarily to talk about him, but to more or less understand where I'm at. That's why I asked his opinion as a man. Like, okay,
What do you want? What do you want?
I want companionship. I want a life partner. And I really want to tap more into my feminine energy because, like I said, I've been told like I have I'll just say it. I've been told like I was like I'm an alpha female. Like I got all this alpha, masculine energy, and I'm trying to figure out how to check that. I'm trying to figure out like what does that even mean, and I'm trying to figure out like what does it even mean to, I guess, operate in feminine energy. And like both of you guys gave context of like y'all growing up with narcissistic parents and stuff like that. I grew up in a single parent home. I was telling you earlier, my daddy was shot and killed. I grew up around a lot of men. My uncles, my mama was the only girl of 4 boys. She was the youngest. So I grew up around all my uncles who were playing into my life as trying to be like somewhat of a father figure, but not really. My grandfather was a big part of my life. My pastor was a big part of my life. And so all of them was telling me like being strong and don't let men do this to you and don't be manipulated and you gotta take care of yourself and you gotta do all of this. So I feel like I'm like trying to break down all of those things that I built up within myself to like, I gotta be this strong woman and I gotta take care of me and I gotta always, do this and do that. I'm not gonna let no man, mistreat me, and I'm not gonna let, my grandpa I'm not gonna let no man treat me the same way my grandpa treated my grandma. And I never wanna be in a situation where I can't leave, or this man out here having illegitimate children and building up these families. And like most of the men in my life that I've even experienced have all been cheaters. They all got illegitimate children on their wives. They all stepped out, or they even left their wives. And just being around that, I'm like, bro, I never, and I hate to say this, so I'm gonna just say it, don't kill me. I was like, I never want to be a weak woman like that. That's my truth. And so I'm trying to like deconstruct that now, because I don't see my grandma as being weak anymore. I see her as doing what she had to do at that time, whatever. And so I'm just trying to figure out, I guess, what is my role in the relationship without being so domineering. That's why I said that to you. Without being so domineering, without feeling like I'm being condescending or feeling like I'm trying to force or control this man to do anything. Like, I guess I'm trying to figure out like what is help and then what is control. Like when I'm genuinely feel like I'm trying to help, but then he might take that as control. Like I'm really trying to figure out how to balance or what to do, I feel like. Rock, paper, scissors, you wanna go first? I know there's a lot right there to unpack, but that's my truth.
What's your moon sign?
Aquarius.
Okay.
Which I don't agree with, but that's what the internet told me. I didn't go to no real. I mean, I'm saying the internet told me that. I don't know if that's accurate. I just use like an app, put in my birthday and my time of birth.
Because basically your moon sign is how your mother treated you as a child, and sometimes that's how you are emotionally as an adult. So you gotta dig to the root, like how did you become this person? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You gotta break that down and actually heal from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
So you don't be this person anymore. You don't want to be this person, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta reprogram your subconscious.
Mm-hmm. So let me add, it's funny that you said that relationship with mother.
Mm-hmm.
You hit the nail on the head. 2018, right before I moved down here, me and my mama had a really big falling out. And I expressed to her, I told her, I was like, you wasn't there for me. Like, you was there for me, but you wasn't there for me. Like, my mom was a good mom. Everybody loved her. All my friends go to her.
I'm just about to say the same thing.
What?
What y'all saying?
What?
I'm about to say the same thing. I was like,
no, ain't
like, you started to go,
But I'm like, you was so busy caught up in helping everybody else, you forgot about me. And but because you felt like I was able-bodied, because these teachers had told you I was gifted, and you knew me to be responsible, and I always handled my business. You left me hanging. So when I needed emotional support, when I was dealing with breakups, boys, whatever, I didn't necessarily feel like I come to you. Your mentality was like, my mom was very strict. So it was like, you can't do this, you can't do that. you know, I'm sorry, it makes me a little emotional because I'm like still working through it. But
Okay.
I just tell her all the time, like, you was not there when I needed you the most.
Can I, while you doing this? My husband and I have developed, I'm about to say a narc hug. Like, we developed this thing called a narc hug. You need a hug.
I don't want to call my mom.
No. See, okay, wait. Let me say something about a narc hug first. The narc hug is you let go when you're ready to let go. And I don't let go until you're ready to let go, because sometimes healing doesn't always come through actions. It comes through the loving touch of somebody and through the heart speaking to each other. So I'm not gonna let go until you're ready to let go. And I know it's uncomfortable, but it's okay. Your mother, and I know this is hard for you to hear because this is the only person that you know that's supposed to protect you, and that is her job as a parent. But at the end of the day, your mother is a narcissist. And because of that, you've developed these boundaries in order to be able to protect yourself as a person in your entity, not recognizing that it's destroying who you truly are before all of that happened.
And I don't want to call her that because I think she's a good mom on the surface.
But motherhood is not a surface thing. Motherhood is sacrifice.
Yeah, and I think she sacrificed a lot for me.
Not outwardly sacrifice. Not outwardly. Inwardly sacrifice. The purpose of a woman in motherhood, let me clarify, is to give herself pieces, because she's whole, of herself to her children in places that they might not be at that time adequate enough to step up to that bar and provide them until they become strong enough themselves to provide that for themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? And if there was no pieces of her to give to you at those moments and times that you needed, that you were not there and it was depreciated in value because you were young, she did the doing of motherhood, but she didn't do the being of motherhood. You can feel when someone is being a mother than what she did for you as a mother.
It's crazy. I almost felt like for a little bit she didn't even like me.
Let me tell you something about narcissist women between daughters. After a while, because I'm going to tell you, you gorgeous, girl. They get jealous of you, and the same thing goes with fathers for men. They get jealous of you over time because you are a representation of their youth that they no longer have, number one. Number two, you're a representation of joy, glee, and life that they no longer have because of their perspective of how life is. It's over for them. So in their lifetime, it is not their purpose to build you up. And I was going to say this, you learn your feminine energy from your mother, and she learns it from her mother. And if you look at your line, your grandma was probably a narcissist too.
No, my grandma was not. My grandma, my mama, nothing alike.
Okay.
My grandma basically raised me till she got sick, and that's when I told my mama, I felt like you chose taking care of my grandma over me.
I know,
I'm your child.
No. I know this is very, very, very hard to hear, but most times, almost like 90% of the time, your mother's narcissistic behavior had to be learned by someone.
I feel like my grandpa.
Your grandfather, regardless if he's a narcissist or not, your grandmother taking in that narcissistic behavior over time became narcissistic herself. It's called, what do they call that? Jesus, it'll come back to me. There's a certain syndrome where it's like when their captor has taken over them for a certain amount of time, they start to genuinely believe and stand behind that captor as if it is their truth. And over time, because of close proximity, that rubbing comes off. Narking doesn't always come in a form of irresponsibility. It is one of the forms of narcish behavior, but that is not all forms. There are multiple forms of narcish behavior that comes out. It's those that are like your mother's are the easiest to identify.
I agree.
They don't know who they are. And again, to quote Jesus again on the cross, he said, forgive them, they know not what they do. And why do they know not what they do? They don't know who they are, essentially. So this, I've talked about this, and in the hope that as I'm speaking, there is an experience in you of the depths of the present moment. Because the present moment, people think present moment is what happens. And of course, Because what happens changes all the time. People say there are many present moments. If you look more deeply, of course, there are not many present moments. There's only ever this present moment. There's only this ever. So there are not many present moments. There's only the space of this moment.
That's what's up.
There's what happens in it, and there is the space in which it happens, and that space is consciousness. And that is who you are. And when you realize that, you become free of the false sense of self, which then your mind tells you something about who you are, which has to do with your history and your successes or your failures or what other people tell you who you are, a little present. So that's really basically the essence of spirituality, which is very simple, but for some reason, it's not taught at school. All kinds of inessential things are taught at school. But what really matters, the very foundation of human life, and it's not some belief structure. I'm not saying indoctrinate children, the children must believe. It's not belief at all. It's an experience. It's a realization. That's what needs to be taught. That needs to be subject number one at school. Who am I? And everything else is easy once you have that.
Well, I'm not sure I have any more questions. We'll press on. I want to ask you about the work that we do at Google. And if you look at any given web page, it's almost a model of the mind. There's all of these jumping off points. You know, you can jump to this story or that story or Hawaii vacation, or, you know, you can jump around so easily. And in fact, the product I work on, Google Plus, allows me not only to examine the contents of my own mind, but all of these people's minds as well, in a flood of a stream coming at me. And I'm wondering if the real reason you've chosen to come to Google today is because we're actively working against you. And
Let me cut it back on for y'all.
Where you get out of the mental noise. And that is the source place of creativity. That is intelligence that is non-conceptual.
That ghetto keep my heart popping, baby, you ain't perfect. I done made so many mistakes, and I'm lurking. I can see the grass and the snakes, and they thirsty. I can see the hate on your face, and it hurt. I can't let that get to me, no, so I'm working. This day wasn't promised, you emotional. I put all my soul in the grind, and it's perfect. Blood, don't need collars, any dollar shit, politics. I didn't even have a fucking pack to piss. Now I can smell the ace of spade when I take a piss. Codeine in my nostrils when I take a piss. I'm immune to all of this bullshit. This government polluted and I know it. That's why I take a pound of cushion and I blow it. Politics polluted and I know it. Shaking up my drain, that's why I pour it. It's so hard to be faithful and I know. When every day all you do is still pause. These girls ain't good, they pausing. But it feels so good taking pauses. That ghetto keep my heart popping, baby, you ain't perfect. I done made so many mistakes, and I'm lurking. I can see the grass and the snakes, and they thirsty. I can see the hate on your face, and it hurt. I can't let it get to me, no, so I'm working. This day wasn't promised, you emotional. I put all my soul in the grind, and it's perfect. Blood, don't need collars, any dollar shit, politics. Tears from my grandma make me hungry. Record my first tape, damn near homeless. Them same niggas round turn phony. She don't speak no English, she'll still smash the homie. I can't trust no bitch, I can't trust her. I made a #1 off hustle. Prosperity in my muscles. My God-given gift through the struggle. I remain silent, a real nigga. It makes it so hard not to kill niggas. They treat me like Elijah Muhammad. And I can rap a bear like an omelet. That ghetto keep my heart pumping, baby, you ain't perfect. I done made so many mistakes, and I'm lurking. I can see the grass and the snakes, and they thirsty. I can see the hate on your face, and it hurt. I can't let it get to me, no, so I'm working. This day wasn't promised, you emotional. I put all my soul in the ground, and it's perfect. But don't need collars, any dollar shit, politics. The ghetto keep my heart pumping, baby, you ain't perfect. I done made so many mistakes, and I'm lurking. I can see the grass and the snakes, and they thirsty. I can see the hate on your face, and it's hurt me. I can't let it get to me, no, so I'm working. This day wasn't promised to me, you emotional. I put all my soul in the ground, and it's working. Butting on these dollars and these collars, shit, politics. The ghetto keep my heart pumping, baby, you ain't perfect. I done made so many mistakes, and I'm lurking. I can see the grass and the snakes, and they thirsty. I can see the hate on your face, and it's hurting me. I can't let it get to me, no, so I'm working.